I'm a startup founder, a YouTuber, and recently I even started a full-time consulting project with a big media company. So yes, startup, YouTube, full-time job. This is how I manage my time. Time management is honestly one of the most important skills in this day and age, and I don't think you need me to tell you that. Life is too exciting. There's too many things I want to do. And if you're like me, you want to do them all, and you want to do them all well. But life is also way too short. We never seem to have enough time to do everything that we want to do. So today I thought I'd share with you my time management system. This is something I've been struggling with since I started this YouTube channel back in law school, but after a few years of juggling a lot of things, I think I have a pretty good system in place. I think of it as a reverse pyramid system with different parts. I will go through them one by one, so let's dive right in. So I just came back from the gym and showered. The way I think about time management is like a reverse pyramid. In the bottom you have your day, and then you expand outwards to your month, and then into your year. Around 16 to 18 is a really pivotal period in my life where I figured out how to conquer the day. So like the bottom of the reverse pyramid. And to give you some context, when I was 16, I was just this super average student in my school. And then around 18, I basically graduated to top of my class. And I think time management, and in particular this one habit, really contributed a lot to it. Out of all the things I do with time management, this is the one habit that stuck with me the longest. I've been doing it since I was 16 to now. So basically I've been doing it since middle school, high school, university, my first job, and now when I'm building my startup. And I do it every single day. This is my 5-minute journal where I write first thing in the morning and last thing before I sleep. It helps me conquer my day by enhancing my focus and enhancing my execution. In the morning, I write about 3 things, which is 3 things I'm grateful for, 1 to 3 things I want to execute on that day, as well as 1 daily reminder. The time management comes into play in the second item, which is the execution bit. I basically write down 1, maximum 3 things that if I can do and complete that day, will make that day a automatic win. This is so crucial because rather than just like a run-of-the-mill generic to-do list where you have like 20 items that you're never gonna complete anyway, you're forced to be ruthless in your prioritization and only write down 1 to 3 things. Through the process of doing that every single morning, you give yourself so much clarity in terms of what you need to do that day. You're forced to think through what is the most important thing that you have to do. What is the one thing that, as long as you complete that, will bring you majority of the results. There was always so many days where I have like 20 things I needed to do. I know exactly, like deep in my heart, which one is the most important. So what ends up happening when I have a list of 20 things to do is that I'll go through all these super easy tasks first so I can tick them off to feel like I'm productive. But the truth is I would have been better off if I just do the one thing that really mattered. In the evening before I sleep, there's something similar. So I write down 3 wins from that day, 1 daily highlight. This only takes like 1 or 2 minutes to fill out every single night. That's the only reason I've been able to stick with this habit. Writing out your 3 wins of the day forces you to reflect back to your day and refer to whether you've completed the main execution goals you have in the morning. Just by doing that, you learn a bit more about yourself every single day. Now imagine sticking with that habit for a week, a month, a year, multiple years. It helps me so much in terms of just understanding more about myself, understanding my capabilities, what I'm good at, what I'm not good at, and how to manage my time better. This has completely transformed me from just an average student to the top of my class. Almost 8:30, I'm about to start my work day, but I thought I'd just quickly walk you through how I actually do my morning journal. So the 2 main execution that I put down today, the 2 things that would be amazing if I can get done today, are to script out my YouTube script for this video, and secondly to attend this run club. This is going to be my first time, so I'm quite excited. And the reminder for today is to relax, and you'll get 95% of the results anyway. This is a thing I learned from Derek Sivers' book, Hell Yeah or No. That's basically how I plan out my day in the morning. So now, when I go on my day, I know exactly the 2 things I need to get done today to make today a win. And that just makes time management so much easier. So next up in the reverse pyramid that we talked about is actually your weekly planning. This is something I didn't really realize until I started doing my side projects like YouTube a few years ago. When you're in school, you can sort of just plan your day to day because the school itself already provides you with a pretty good like large macro structure. You can just plan your day to day, how you want to execute your tasks, and that can be enough time management. But once you start doing your side projects, you realize you need longer term deadlines. You need better time management skills. And that's when weekly planning actually comes in. While there are tasks that can be finished in a day, which you'll be doing when you plan your day if you do a morning journal like I did, there's other tasks that might take a few days to complete, or other tasks that sort of happens every week but not every single day. So a good example is like going to the gym. You're not going to be going to the gym every single day, but maybe you want to go like 2-3 times a week. Or another task might be finishing a YouTube video. It might not get done in just one day, but it spans out to a couple of days. Another thing is you don't want to be recreating your day every single morning. Yes, it's helpful to do a bit of morning journal to just nail down what you need to do that day, but you don't want to be starting from scratch every single day. You want to have a template of sorts that you can go back to. There's a few ways I do it, but the first way is to actually plan out my ideal week. And this has to be pretty specific. There's a couple ways of doing it, but the way I do it is I have a Google Calendar, one specific calendar that just spits out my ideal day. But basically, I plan out my day to the hours on what I want to be doing on a specific day of week. Obviously, right now, at this moment, I'm not following this schedule because I'm working a full-time consulting gig for the next 2 months. But when I'm not doing that, when I'm working on my startup and my YouTube channel, this is sort of the schedule that I largely base my day around. You can see there's also gaps between different events, and that's because you always want to leave buffer time. We are really bad at predicting how long something will take. Something that you think might only take an hour to complete sometimes takes 2. And maybe you're having lunch and you accidentally ate for too long, so that's another 15 minutes gone. And also you want to leave gaps so you have more flexibility in your day. If someone cool comes into town and they ask you for coffee, hey, you can just slip that coffee chat within one of those empty hours. There's also a few principles that I think about when planning my ideal week, which I think is something that's super helpful for you as well. First of all is the principle called eat the frog. Imagine you're dining with someone and in front of you is a frog that you need to eat and a delicious ice cream. You always want to be eating the frog first but not second, and that applies to your day-to-day planning as well. You always want to tackle the hardest, most complex task first thing in the morning so that the rest of your day becomes easier. Secondly, implement deep work sessions. This is something I learned from Cal Newport's book Deep Work, which basically just means you should have these larger chunk of time where you are uninterrupted, where you are deeply focused on doing that one task at hand, because that's where you're going to get the most results. And thirdly, this is more a personal preference, but I prefer to do more logical tasks in the morning and more creative tasks in the evening. So for example, in the morning, I'll work on my startup more, I'll do the coding, etc. And in my evening, I'll do my video editing because that's more creative and that's fun and I enjoy it. So now we're at the last part of the reverse pyramid that we talked about. We're at the highest level. This is the last part, but I think you can argue this is also the most important. There's this one quote from Seneca, one of my favorite Stoic philosophers. If a man knows not to which port he sails, no wind is favorable. You can work through your day-to-day, your week-to-week, be as productive as you are. But if you're working at the wrong things in the wrong direction, it's wasted effort. Which is why people always love setting New Year's resolution, annual goals. But I'm here to argue that you should stop doing New Year's resolution, and this is what you should be doing instead. I've been setting New Year's resolution every year since I'm like 16. Every year I also write this letter to my future self that is scheduled sent to myself in my email inbox 1 year later. Something I realized that's a big problem with New Year resolution is that you change a lot during that 1 year. You change, the external circumstances changes. So very often, some goal that you set on 1st of January, by the time it's June or even like April, it just doesn't make sense anymore. You're demotivated and you feel like this goal doesn't apply to me anymore and you sort of just gives up. Or sometimes you overestimated how hard something is and you achieve it way earlier. So there was 1 year where my New Year resolution was to gain 10 kilograms because I was like trying to gain muscle mass, and I basically did that in like 2 months. So after the 2 months, I'm like, okay, now what? Like, so there's all these examples where you can basically overestimate or underestimate your goal, and also life happens, so your goal doesn't apply anymore. What should you do at the highest level to plan your year so that your time will be managed properly and effectively? What I've started to do is to do 6 months goals instead. Yes, I still set New Year resolution, as you might call it, but I review it every 6 months. So by June, I'll look at my New Year's resolution. I'll see if they are still realistic, if I've achieved any of them. And that's been working so much better because that gives me more flexibility and I can change my goals sort of depending on my life situation. It also acts as like a fresh start. So instead of having a fresh start every 12 months, I have one every 6 months. And actually most recently, I'm saying in the last 2 months or so, I've started measuring my goals in quarters rather than 6 months. So basically in each 12-month period, I have 4 times to achieve my quote-unquote New Year resolution. Imagine every 3 months having that opportunity to sort of like reinvent yourself. And in terms of how to set goals, I also have a few principles that I try to follow. First of all is to only set 2 to 3 goals. Similar to your day-to-day plan, you don't want to have like 10 goals you're trying to achieve, because if you're going at 10 directions at the same time, you're not moving closer to any of those. You also want to have an overachieving goal and a baseline goal. Say this year my goal might be to get more subscribers on YouTube. Base goal will be something like I need to achieve at least 5,000, and the overachieving one may be like I'll get to 50k. So there's a range, because you don't want to just get one arbitrary number, which meant that you either failed or succeeded. And secondly, to measure input and not your output. That made me realize the example I just gave was actually pretty bad, because that's measuring the output. Instead of measuring something that's external, something like how many subscribers I have, I should be measuring something that is within my control. So instead of my goal being, say, hitting 5k subscribers, it should be uploading 4 videos a week, because that's something that I can actually control. Once you have that goal, and once you start doing that maybe every 6 months or every quarter, like how I'm doing right now, you realize setting your weekly goals and your daily goals become so much easier, because everything trickles down from the top of the pyramid. Everything starts at the top, and then you reverse engineer downwards to what you do in a certain week and what you do in a certain day. And I think in general, this reverse pyramid 3-step process has helped me a lot to just like manage my time better, because if you're someone that juggles multiple things at the same time, you want to make the most out of your time, you're someone that's ambitious, you want to achieve more, be productive, it is so important to go at the right direction and then use the right tactics. So that's basically how I manage my time. I hope that's been helpful, and I'll see you next time. Peace.